Welcome to the Successful Nurse Coach podcast. On this podcast, Laura
and Shelby, both board-certified nurse coaches, show you how to make as much money as you want in private practice as a nurse coach. Hello and welcome back to episode 200 of the Successful Nurse Coach podcast. I kind of can't believe 200 episodes is a lot, Laura.
200 weeks.
Yeah, it's a lot.
The years is 200 weeks.
I mean, almost 4. I know that
My goodness.
I know. We've had some weeks where we've uploaded a couple of episodes for like a brief amount of time. So maybe like right under 4 years is where
Oh my goodness.
where we started. I remember the time you came to Texas and we sat in a hotel lobby. I was actually just at that hotel while my floors were getting replaced in my house.
Yeah,
And we
I
sat
remember
at the
that.
hotel lobby and I planned out every email for the podcast for a whole year. Like we basically planned we had the idea of a podcast, but we really put our boots on the ground and did it in like a weekend where we worked probably 50 hours in 3 days and got it all buttoned up and ready to go. And I cannot believe how much our life has changed since that February, whenever we like finally did it. It was
Dude, I haven't
significant.
done anything every week for 4 years until this. I have
No.
never stuck with anything that long, ever.
Nope. Never. I mean, okay, maybe when I was in high school and I was forced to go to swim practice, but that hardly counts because I was pressured by my parents to do that. But this is, yeah, I think maybe one of our biggest devotions to our business
Yeah.
over time. And it has taught me a lot, which I think we'll get into here in a minute. But
Yeah.
is there any like funny moment in the past 4 years that's maybe our
Yes.
dedicated listeners don't know?
Okay. Yes. This is so funny to me because I remember this like yesterday. I was so vulnerable about the intro music being good. Do you remember this?
This was a big decision for you. Yeah.
Love our intro music, but like I guess I had a subconscious belief, and even Evan like did something to me this morning. I sent him a funny reel. He's like, "Why did you send me that? That wasn't even funny. It was weird."
Damn, Evan.
And I was like, geez. I mean, to be fair, it was about a domestic abuse. It was a comedian, but it was like really funny to me for some reason about a man hitting his wife. Anyway, so he like made fun of my taste in humor. And I had this subconscious belief from an ex that I had weird taste in music. And so I thought I liked it so much, but I was so afraid you were going to be like, ew, that's weird. Or like, because I just didn't trust my own taste.
I remember. I remember when you're like, I really hope that you were very nervous. And that's I think maybe one of 3 times I've seen you nervous
I
in the
know.
entire time that I've ever known you.
Yes.
And I remember being like, why? This is like, I just don't care in the same way. Like, I just don't. As long as it's vibey, like I'm here. And God, you were very stressed out. It's so
I have a
funny.
weird, like still weird phobia things that pop up like that. But like, I remember that because I remember my old office. I remember like listening to so many and like settling on that. And I was like, I have to send it to her. And then I was like, like when you send a text and you're like, just, has she responded? Has she responded? And you're like, yeah, I like it. And I was like,
and it's funny because whenever, of course, I made all of my friends be a part of our original launch team whenever we were getting it out in the world. You know, we had this whole plan and I recruited every person I knew, nurse, non-nurse, whatever.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest feedback from our non-nurse or my non-nurse people. They were like, the music is so catchy. That was such the right pick. And I was like, I'll have to screenshot this and send it to Laura so she can sleep.
Other podcasts use it. And I was like, haha, we used it first.
Yeah, that's ours. Yeah, that's so good. And then, man, I recall one podcast episode that is not live anymore. We actually ended up taking it down, which is funny in and of itself. But I remember being so nervous to record this podcast. It's when we had some guests on, and I gutted the closet in my office, like with sliding doors.
Remember that?
And I padded the whole, cause my mic, y'all, listen, I know that if you've listened to this podcast long enough, you know that, like, sometimes Shelby's mic works and sometimes it doesn't, and it literally is the most annoying thing ever. But I was determined to have this podcast episode sound good, so I ordered, like, hundreds of dollars of those foam things to put on the walls inside of my closet, and then I put blankets over to, like, make my own, like,
Studio.
studio out of old kid like, it was just the weird it was the weirdest, and so, my god, I worked for hours
Yeah.
making sure that that was ready to go, and I think my audio was still bad.
It was so bad because it was going, like, high and low, and I remember you got really excited and you were, like, talking, and it was, like, right in my ears, and I'm like, "Oh, no." But it was video too, so you couldn't be crazy.
I
Anyway,
know, it
yeah,
was
we've had a lot of those moments, but, this is what the podcast has done is our ability to riff, like, our ability to just like, we get
mhm,
compliments all the time from NLCA students, and it's like, "How do you and Shelby talk like that? Like, you just have language and you have words, and, like, how do you speak in this way?" And it's like, "'Cause 'cause we've spoken a lot on a mic, like, so many times, and our style is to riff, it's not to be over planned or polished, and
yeah,
so I'm so grateful for that skill because if somebody, like, let's say one of my podcast crushes was like, "Hey, Laura Menard, I love Nurse Life Coach Academy. I'd love you to come on my podcast." I'd be like, "Yeah, totally. I am gonna be a great guest." And I don't think you get that any other way. You only get that through practice. And so I'm so grateful for the reps. Like
mhm,
it's the kind of activity in your business that if you are serious about it, you won't miss a week. And we're kind of lucky because we haven't had to do 199 each.
yeah,
We've probably done like, 100 each. Yeah, more
yeah,
than that, probably like 125 because we've had so many together. But also, I found out that only like 8% of podcasts in the world go past episode 7.
I know, isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. I have a lot of people in our bubble at Successful Nurse Coaches. A lot of our clients are like, I want a podcast. I'm like, dude, I get it. Same. I also wanted the podcast when we first started. And it's about 100 hours to just get it off the ground.
Yes.
And then it's maintenance. Like
Yeah.
it's a labor of love in the beginning because there's so many decisions you have to make, so much all of the creatives that you need and the images and the logos, like, it's not like rocket science, it's just a lot. It's a lot of little
To do it
tiny
right
yeah,
because you
to
want
do
to
it
launch it correct.
yeah, and
Yeah.
we don't say that very often, y'all. We
No.
are really proponents of messy action, but it's one of the very first things I think that we, like, sat intentionally about, created a plan for, recorded podcast episodes in advance, and, like,
Yes.
it's paid off well for
Yeah.
us. Like, it's one of our best investments of time that we have.
I think it's like our best investment in the nurse coach community.
100%.
And
Yep.
then we have coaches who aren't nurse coaches who listen to it and from different bubbles and like share it with their coach friends that aren't nurses. And so I think what I love about it is I'm not sure how many hundreds of thousands of downloads we had. We probably should have checked that before today, but I mean, the fact that we've helped you from this free thing that we do, that we plan, and that we've spent, 1,000 hours on, it makes me really happy. And then every once in a while, I'll get a message because be like, "Hey, I listened to your podcast today. I was really struggling with XYZ, and this really helped." And that's like, I mean, the I think that's where the big payoff for me comes. It's like, well, I think we're leaving the profession better than when we found it, even if we just keep doing what we're doing. And
Yep.
and then from a business perspective, of course, it's wonderful. It's a wonderful way to create clients, to create yourself as a leader. Like I believe that every nurse coach practice that wants a podcast, we can help you absolutely launch one. But it is likely not the right move till year 3. It's just
Yeah.
likely going to be premature before for most practices before year 3.
Mhm. Mhm. Yep. I did a quick glance at our analytics, and we've had 100,000 downloads of all time.
Downloads,
Yep.
but listens, I think we're
Listens
more.
is
Yeah.
about guesstimated from our podcast editor. Shout out to Sue, who's edited most of these podcasts. She told me that it's anywhere from 3 to 4 times more than your
Right.
download
Yeah,
numbers.
that's so cool.
Yep.
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. So significant. And I think even to my dad, bless him, he tried to listen to the first episode of our podcast because he's a podcast person, and I'd find him just, like, asleep with our voices in the background, like, we would just, like, lull him to sleep because it's totally irrelevant to my dad, it's not he's not in healthcare at all, and, he's like, the other day I listened to your podcast," and I was like, "Oh, shit, I kinda bank on you not listening to those, like, very freely on these," and he goes,
Yeah.
"You guys are so much better, like, I haven't listened probably in 2 years, and you're so much better, like, the flow is better, your voices are better, the sound is better, the content is better," and I was like, "You know, I know that this is, again, still irrelevant to you, but that's actually really meaningful to
Yes.
me." That's
Yeah.
helpful to hear. But, and Laura's saying that we riff for most of these podcasts, which is true, we do. But for this one in particular, I have something heartfelt that I want to read for you guys. And we have a special announcement that we're going to make in this podcast too, which we're really excited about. But this podcast would mean nothing if people didn't tune in every week. If I logged in and saw the analytics and saw that we had like 2 diehard fans, I'd probably be like, meh, I don't know. I'm not sure if this is the best. I enjoy it, but is this the best use of our time? And we just want to express some gratitude for all of you. It's, your time is your most precious resource and you spend it with us most Mondays. And yeah, anyway, this one's for you guys. 200 episodes. That's 200 moments you've invited us into your car rides, your walks, your shifts, and your mornings with coffee. 200 times we have said, let's hit record without knowing where the conversation would take us. And somehow it always brought us closer to each other, to our purpose, and to you. If you've ever messaged us, reviewed our podcast, or even quietly listened and felt seen, thank you. Thank you for letting our words be a part of your journey. Thank you for being brave enough to imagine something new. Thank you for being one of the ones that said, nursing gets to be different for me. We love you more than the amount of CEU hours in the world, and we can't wait to keep growing with you. XOXO, Lauren Shelby.
Yay. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I don't know, Shelby, at this point, even if we had 2 diehard listeners only, I'd be like, "Hey, let's bring it for them. Let's just bring it for them this week."
You get the front row seat, baby. Yeah. Okay, well, I have one question for
Mhm.
you. What is one part of yourself that this podcast has brought forward or illuminated? Maybe something that would have like stayed hidden had we not done
Mm.
this together.
I think that the therapeutic value for me of this podcast is recounting stories or illustrations of something. So I know we like to use personal story. I connect with podcasters that tell personal
Mhm.
stories. So oftentimes I'll be talking about a concept or a thing that I know is important to our clients and important to nurse coaches starting their businesses. And then I will come, like a thought will come into my mind about a thing or that comes up. And then I start to share it. And it's like, man, I would have never spent, 5 minutes recounting the story in as much detail, like out loud to other
Yeah.
human beings. And so I think it like really highlights the importance of all of our experiences in our life. Like every experience brings you to this moment, only always. And so I think surprisingly, the podcast is acted as a verbal journal
Mhm.
that is done weekly. And so there's some integration and some like integrity that's been built inside of me just through sharing, like accidentally sharing. Because a lot of times the story is not like, hey, I'm going to tell this story because it's going to illustrate this thing and that's
Yeah.
going to be great. It's like, no, it touched on a feeling. I had a thought and then being able to share the thought without filtering.
Yeah.
I love that. I love it.
What a skill. I really think that like story is one of our most powerful tools as business owners, entrepreneurs, as coaches.
Yes.
And definitely it has honed it for both of us on the podcast. And I would kind of like say maybe like a similar flavor for me of whenever I'm like so nostalgic. If I could change my middle name to nostalgia, I would. It's like a genetic condition. And so I'm constantly like making meaning out of things that happen to me. And I'm
Yeah.
making meaning out of the hard and the highs and the lows. And having the podcast has allowed me to take that meaning and then make it even more purposeful for other people. And that's
Yeah.
like a nuance skill I didn't know about before of like, yeah, you have your story and it's true and it's awesome. It's not going to be true for in the same way for everybody, but how do we like take the silver lining or take the meat out of that story or learning lesson and then make it broader and more applicable and like more like digestible for the community at large. And I think that the showing up for the podcast every week, especially the weeks like when I didn't want to, or whenever I was like batch recording like 6 months in advance and like
Yeah.
scraping the sides of like what is relevant. I want to make this impactful. I don't want to just like record to record. It has, I mean, caused me to like slow down and really think about the message of every podcast episode, which I don't
Yeah.
think was like a super developed skill for me 4 years ago. That was definitely
Yes.
something that this has sharpened for me.
Yeah. I think I just recorded a podcast before this. So for those of you who listened to last week's 199, I'm wearing the same earrings. My hair's in a ponytail. Yes, we batch record. But I
Yeah.
was just doing this before today, this one with you. And it's like, dude, I don't think you can understate the value of making meaning of shitty things. Like
Yeah.
I am like grateful of how shitty our January and February were. They were so terrible. It was very terrible. It was very dark. And I didn't even let myself acknowledge how dark it was. And just till now, I think it's like, it's far, it's
Yeah.
now it's not an open wound. It's now a scar. So I could talk about the scar and the lessons of the scar. And it's like, it's kind of batshit crazy to make a meaning of everything. And yet it's all true. And so even as shitty things are happening, like in the moment with you and I, like
Mhm.
whatever the shitty thing is, like we just had a shitty thing happen with an old partnership that
Yeah.
and you and I had to just reconcile and be like, hey, we really effed up. This is how we made a mistake. This is how we've grown. And this is what we have to do about it. Even that, it's like as things come up, I'm like, oh, there's already meaning being made. And now in the moment, like
Yeah.
instantaneously, that's a
Yeah.
wonderful way to live life. And it's a must if you're going to be a long term entrepreneur.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I've been probably since late last year to still now. I don't have a lot of free time these days, but all of my free time is spent studying like theology, religion, spirituality. Like I am just Rob is probably so sick of me. That's all I play when I cook dinner, you know. In the
Yeah.
mornings, I listen to like something inspiring for our business to broaden my perspective, and in the afternoon, I treat myself of like what weird thing can I learn today? But one of the consistent themes I've been seeing across a few different teachers that I follow is how humans make meaning. How and kind of depending on how hard your season of life is, like how your higher power shifts and shapes and supports you through that. And but humans are meaning making machines, you know? Like
Yeah.
even if you're not consciously doing this, you're subconsciously doing it. And if we can bring it to the surface and be careful not to like gaslight ourselves or, jump into
Right.
toxic positivity land, but to acknowledge of like, man, this is freaking hard. And I think our, like, most favorite go-to is like, "Man, I'm so glad we're just doing this now and not later." Like, I'm just glad we're getting it out of the way and learning the lesson, and it'll make us better long term,
Yeah.
is our probably most prevalent making meaning thought, and the lessons are different every time. That's usually the lesson of like, "Thank God it's happening now. Let's be sure that doesn't happen again, at least to
Yeah.
the same degree. Let's be smarter moving forward." And man, has the last at least 3 years in particular taught us that over and over in different ways.
Yeah. My daughter's in fifth grade. This is her first week, and her best friends moved away. And there's only three girls in her tiny little class. And she's hybrid. So there's two girls that go 5 days a week, and now she just goes 3 days a week.
Mhm.
And she came home and she had teary eyes. And she said, Mom, I really want to go full time. And I was like, okay, well, let's just do one quarter. And if you still feel this way, she's like, Mom, the girls are going to forget about me every Tuesday
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
every Thursday, and they're going to be best friends, and I'm not. So she made meaning, right, of this thing. And I knew exactly the meaning that she had made. And I just had so much compassion for that.
Yeah.
And I knew how to like work with that and like not gaslight it or it's fine. They won't. They
Yeah.
won't. I was like, they might. They might. They're little girls. They're in 5th grade. Like, they might. And so
Yeah.
I just notice even as a parent or maybe even as a leader with our team, like I think that making meaning is great personally, but when you can recognize it in everybody, it's so much easier to coach them and to
Mhm.
be there for them and to acknowledge the meaning that they're making, even if it's a lens that you can work on, you still acknowledge that's real and that's painful and that sucks. And
Yeah.
let's be with that until we can change the narrative, make different meanings so it doesn't have to continue to suck. I love that. I love that.
Yeah. It's so true. A skill, again, a holistic skill that goes everywhere with you all the time,
Mhm.
just not in your business. Yeah. Ooh, I have one question for you, another one, and then we can go into the surprise. Is there anything that you haven't shared on the podcast that you want to? Like any story? I was thinking about this before and I was like, "Pff, I don't know. I've told a lot of them, at least 90% of
Mm,
them here."
gosh. It's kinda like that question you get, like, "Hey, if you weren't afraid what anybody would think, what would you say?" And I'm like, "I'm pretty sure I've said it all." Every time we do that exercise, I can find something. I don't know. I mean, I feel like what's vulnerable about doing a podcast is that everybody watches you evolve.
Yeah, and there's like a very your whole life is just stacked up into
Yeah.
episodes. Yeah, it's so bizarre. It's so
Yeah,
weird.
it's like, "Oh, that's when Laura was going through a really deep spiritual phase. And this is when Laura started listening to Alex Hormozy, and she's all about the let's get shit done phase." So I think, like, what I would say is that if you are showing up in your business and being visible, then you're gonna have seasons of what you're into, what you're good at, what your focus is, and, like, you just have to be okay that you're not gonna resonate with your own freaking podcasts 2 years from now, or
Mhm.
like, you just have to be okay with your own evolution, and I've heard other, like, thought leaders and people do this, and they're like, "Hey, I've changed my mind about said thing. I used to say this, and now I
Yeah.
say this." And then people be like, "Well, you taught me this, and that was wrong." It's like, "I taught you what I believed, and now I believe something different." So what I'd like to say is I kinda don't give a shit. I'm gonna just keep doing that, of evolving and not worrying about past chapters of it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I've noticed that I'm like, "Oh, yeah." I'll listen to an old episode, I'll be like, "Oh, man, she was really XYZ. This is like the era of whatever."
Yeah, it's humbling. Though, I also get feedback from that sometimes,
Mhm.
especially on NLCA calls to where like, "Oh, I found your podcast." And I'm always like, "Ooh, what episode did you
What
listen to
yeah.
first?" And they're like, "Oh, I was listening to the episodes when you were pregnant with your second, and now you just had your third." And like people are just at least the people who I've talked to have always been like so in awe of what we've been able to create over
Yeah,
time. Like, there's an
right.
appreciation for, like, wow, I see all of this effort over time that you have poured in, and, I can tell that you guys really, really care. Sure, there are probably some things that we could redo or re-say or whatever and be better at it, but I'm glad that that's a part of the takeaway too, of,
Yeah.
like, I mean, now that you say it, like, it's insanely vulnerable to put our own trajectory on
Yeah.
display like that, and, yeah, thanks to everyone watching with a lot of grace, especially for the early episodes.
Well, think about, like, actors and actresses, like, this is anybody with any kind of platform, whether it be 100 people or 1,000 people or, like, 100,000,000 people, but I'm like, can you, like, what about, like, celebrities who go through breakups or, like,
Yeah,
celebrities who get caught cheating? I was like, if I can be kinda weird in 2022 and be okay with it,
yeah,
It's like I think I think the podcast has helped us with our own acceptance of our evolution and, like, unapologeticness, and I think also, like, being wrong. We've
mhm,
been wrong about things, guys. I know this is gonna shock you. We have taught things that I think were wrong at the time, but we didn't know it was wrong until a later time. And I think that's just shows you transformation and growth. And it's just a testament to what it actually looks like. It's messy.
maybe we can do an amendments podcast to where we go through and we're just like, "Hey, here's the most up-to-date experience on this," and yeah, there's especially, I think that longer we do this, the more clear we get in our own messaging, approach, style, flavor, like
Yeah, the frameworks that work and the
yeah.
frameworks that don't.
Yep.
Um, and the seasons that certain frameworks work better than others. Like we
Mhm.
are 2020 was different than 2025. Like there are like fundamental cultural differences and different things. And I think that's just the truth, right? It's just the truth. Things shift and change. But an amendments podcast wouldn't be a bad podcast. We could do personal and professional.
Yeah.
Just get it all cleaned up in one.
That one's gonna be long, 90
Yeah, we got
minutes.
to
You
send
bring
it
us
to
back.
Evan, send it to my sister, send it to my mom.
Yeah, so good. That's so funny. Okay,
All right.
well, yeah, let's talk about the fun thing that we get to talk about today.
Hmm.
The fun announcement. We've alluded to it a little in
Yeah.
our Facebook group, a little on Instagram. And, just as this podcast was a labor of love to be born, our next project is also a labor of love to be born. And of course, I think it was in May to where I was like, I'm going to start this project when like life was maybe one of the hardest seasons it's ever been in. It was
Yeah.
something I got excited about and could show up for, and, we're almost done, and I'm hoping that by sharing this with you, it'll give us the last energy
Yeah.
in our battery to get it over the finish line. But we wrote a book. We wrote a book called The Art and Science of a Successful Nurse Coach Practice, and we
Yeah.
are confetti cannons. I think one thing that's been really clear to me as time has gone on, especially as we still like diligently ask for feedback in our course, is how different people learn. So I'm
Yes.
very much like an audio, some visuals helpful sometimes, but like audio, if I can have somebody tell me and then I can listen to like different flavors of the same message over and over. So podcast is really helpful for me. But then also, I personally really love to write. It is therapeutic for me. It is helpful for me. It's an art form, creative expression, but a lot of people like to read physical books. They like
Yes.
to read and highlight and make notes and all the things. And I think that part one, this is something that we've wanted to do for several years. The timing just hasn't been totally correct, and it feels more correct than ever. But being able to create a resource that meets the needs of the readers
Hmm.
of the community is going to be like so cool. And there's a lot of I'm really proud of it for what like we're really truly almost done with it, but I'm really proud of like you can tell the level of experience and expertise that we were able to pour into it
Yes.
to where
I
like 3
know.
years ago it would not have been the same. It would not have
No,
been the same book. Yeah.
no. I'm not going to name names, but there's a new nurse coach that went across my feed that's offering business coaching. And I just paused and saw a little bit of the content. And I was like, that was exactly where we were
Mhm.
4 years ago, right? Where it's like all of it, the messaging was correct. There was nothing
Yep.
glaring, but I could sense the lack of true like integration and knowledge of the thing. Like there's like depth that comes from bruises and bumps and repetitions with so many different humans with different backgrounds and different challenges and different ways of learning that, yeah, I see that in our book. Like it's just more layered, more valuable. You've done the lion's share of it, but I'm like, holy cow, this has been our life's work for 4 years. This has been
Mhm.
what we focused on every day, every week for over 4 years. And it's valuable and I'm proud of it. I'm
Yep.
really proud of it.
Me too. I would even say that like we've obsessed over business for
Yes.
for 5 years.
I am not gonna I have. I still
Obsessed.
do.
Oh, no, me too, 100%. It's business information and spiritual information that are my only 2 fountains that I drink from at the moment, and so it's
Those are good together. I like those
sure,
together.
yeah, it is, and it's, um, gosh, it shows here, and even if we would've written this book last year, it would
Mm,
not it
nope,
would not be the
it
same.
was not ready.
Yeah. And I know that Laura and I have probably been just boring the heck out of you guys of like, man, this last year's been so hard, and then not really providing a lot of context. But that, to be honest, team, those wounds are just starting to scar over, and I'm
Yeah.
sure that we will share them in due time. I wouldn't even know where to begin with all of it, but the book has layers and nuance and so much information, and we really want to make it like the best. And I think we're wanting to take our time to do it. And we're at that stage in like the creation process to where you just need a boost to like get it over the finish line. But I remember I was like, I'm gonna write this book. And you're like, go for it. It's nice to see you excited again. And I was like, yeah. And then I sat down that night, wrote the entire outline almost, and then was able to write almost 8 chapters in about 2 weeks. Like, it was just like,
Yeah.
whoosh, and then I've had to claw at the rest of this book to, like, put it together and make sure it's linear and that it makes sense, and, like, writing a book is a skill that we don't necessarily have yet, so learning a lot through that process of just making sure that, like, a book is not where you can riff. It's
No, it
it needs
requires
to
some foresight.
yeah. And so zooming in and zooming out and zooming in and zooming out and just like
Yeah.
all the things. But we are super, super stoked. And we kind of have an ask for you here too to join our launch team for this book. We're going to self-publish on Amazon. We're going to do physical copies and ebook copies. We'll do both. I think I'm saying a lot right now. I'm thinking we're going to do both, right? Okay. And what we do know about a launch, especially on Amazon, to get it to rank, and this is kind of like a similar flavor of what we did on our podcast. So this is helpful. And by opting into the launch team, you're kind of like opting in to help us rank on Amazon. So I'm going to be sending you a couple extra emails. I'm going to be sending you a couple texts just to remind you to like rate and review. There's all these rules of like you can't
Gotta
rate
be a
it
week.
too soon. It has to be a week and at a certain time. So we have a whole plan. But if you want to help us with that, and really truly the intent of this book is we still talk to people now that are like, Shelby, I wish I would have found your podcast a year ago. Like, I've been
Yeah.
struggling for 12 months. And the name of this book is intentional so that whenever people search the Art and Science of Nurse Coaching book, that we appear second. So if you are
Yes.
in the nurse coaching bubble, we want us to like be in your orbit as soon as possible, but we need it to rank. And that's where it'd be super helpful if you guys could help us out on that one.
Yeah.
Yep. So sign up below. I promise we're not going to use that link to like spam the bejesus out of you, but I'm thinking like maybe we can give you some early sneak peeks to the chapters or maybe like some extra behind the scenes content just as a thank you for
Yeah.
joining us. And then also too, if you
And some
rate review,
giveaways.
yeah, we're going to do some giveaways and there'll be more info about that. So be sure, go down to the show notes and sign up with the link. That'd be super
Yeah.
helpful.
Yeah, to finish off this podcast, we're going to just give you a little zoom out of what we're seeing across the field of nurse coaching right now. Right now for Nurse Life Coach Academy, it is me, Shelby, and Amy Frame who are taking weekly calls from nurses from all across the country. We do between 140 and 180 a month. So we have so many numbers.
Yeah.
And so I think what I want to say about the nurse coaching specialty is that nurses are more than ever really, really, really longing to do nursing different. And so the people that we're talking to, most of them advanced, so many advanced degrees, so much longing for purpose, so much longing for feeling like they're making a difference. And not that that hasn't always been the case, but in the zeitgeist of the nursing world, managers and organizations and magnet organizations, like people are more ready to hear about how coaching could help. And
Yeah.
it just was not that way 5 years ago. It was not
Mhm.
that way.
No.
And so there's a readiness here. And our mentor has said, a lot of times a successful business is just being in the right place at the right time. Everybody in private practice in the next 2 to 3 years is in the right place at the right time. Like truly,
Yeah.
truly. So I just want to speak to timing, about readiness, about the willingness for organizations to pay for coaches, about coaching position. We just had somebody message us today that they got a coaching position. And so this is happening more often as well. But I think that the idea of a nurse life coach is going to be set apart from the term life coach or the term health coach. Like I think nurse life coach will be something recognizable by a large percentage of the population. And that gets me really excited because I think
Mhm.
what we do for a lot of people is the absolute best modality for them at that time of their
Yeah.
journey.
Yep.
Yeah.
100%. I was at a cardiology appointment about a month ago, which for those of you who've been here long enough, my heart looks great. Even after a traumatic preeclampsia birth, we're still looking solid on the aneurysm repair, which is great news. the practice I go to leverages a lot of NPs, and she was asking me about Nurse Life Coach Academy. Very curious. I think she's going to join us in the future, which is really cool. And she was saying that she was one of the first NPs like ever certified in the 90s. And she was like, no one knew how to leverage us, how we fit into the team. And now, you know, 30 years later, the whole system would collapse without us. And I'm like,
Wow.
God,
Yeah.
you are giving me so much hope right now, but like I could see it. Like I will live long enough to see the
Yes.
impact here. And that's really exciting to me because I know 30 years is a good chunk of change. I'm only 34, so it's basically my whole life. But that's not that long. That's not 100 years. That's, like, doable, and I think
Yeah.
with the internet and all the things, like, things will just happen faster as well,
Uh-huh.
but I can't wait. I can't wait to see, like, whenever I go to the cardiologist in 30 years to check on this aneurysm repair. They're like, "Oh, yeah, nurse coach, we have one of those on staff." Like, that would be
Yeah, do
so
you wanna
awesome.
talk to her?
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's great. She's great.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, that makes me
so
happy.
good.
I imagine, I'm older, I'm 46, so I often think I'm like, "How long am I gonna be doing this for?" And I was like, "Oh, definitely another 20." But I was like, I mean, as long as I eat right and move my body, probably into my 70s, I could imagine having long gray hair. And like, I
Yep.
have thoughts about that of the zero amount of Fs that I will give at 70 is just really exciting.
We'll be those holistic nurses, the old holistic nurses
Yeah.
then. It'll be so funny. It'll be so funny.
Yeah. We'll be talking about
Man.
the young whippersnappers.
Yeah.
There'll be some new thing. That's
Yep.
so cool to think about.
Yeah, it is. It is. Oh, well, team, thanks for being here for 200 episodes. We're
Yes.
excited to bring you 200 more and keep an eye out for the book. Help give me some dopamine by signing up for our launch team so I'm like 90% of the way there. We just got to like push it the last 10 and we appreciate you. We love you and we'll see ya. See you same time, same place next week.
Thanks, guys. See you for the next 200.